All right, awesome, Paul. Good afternoon, everyone. Some of you I know, some of you I just met. My name's Matt Arnold. I'm the territory rep for you guys for Dixon. This is Jeff Newell. He's the regional manager, slightly off camera if you can't see him.
He's on there.
He's on.
He's on.
Good to know.
So, I know we wanted Jim and Deanne organizing this. We know you guys know who Dixon is. You've been pushing lately on the sanitary side. You've been doing a great job with that. We figured we'd come in here. We met at the AD Summit, talked about speaking more towards the Dixon side because we have a lot to offer that you might be walking over right now, opportunities. So we kind of want to dive into that, and yeah, we'll start by the new catalog. I know you pointed out that we are going to it. We have a new catalog. Unlike last year, where we kind of switched things up completely by doing it more as like a web page type platform, this is a hybrid style catalog. So we took the good from the old school and the good from last year, and we kind of merged it into one. So if you open up to the first page, you'll still see the table of contents. You'll still see the pictures in there by section, but now things will be grouped together. There's a little bit more cohesion in this kind of mix. And what we really liked, if you turn to page 4 and 5, so this would be section A, our engineered fluid transfer couplings section. This is the index for that. So this will tell you everything that's in that section broken down. So you can see that on the top left, dry disconnects, and then it'll break it down, and we're going to go into some of those today. And so there's different styles. You'll see that there's a Mantex style, and the first one there is actually called Baylock. So it's easier to read through. We like to think that this is kind of the tangible version of a web page, and we've been getting some good feedback on it so far. One thing that you'll also notice if you turn to the very next page, so page 6 and 7, one thing that we changed that we've never had before is actually we took the price, the list prices out of the catalog. So now you won't see that. A lot of people were saying that the list prices are inflated manufacturer's list price, and that it would scare the customer away from even getting an initial quote. So we do have our price booklets, which we didn't print too many of these, so we don't want to really hand these out to customers, but we do have a PDF version, and I'm sure you guys have that, but if not, we'll make sure you guys get some of these and then the PDF as well. So Dixon's been around since 1916, a little over 100 years now, 102 years. What's great about us, and as you probably know with the Sanitary, is our delivery and our inventory. We always have things stocked. Most of the time you'll get things shipped next day. We ship about 97% same day. So 1 to 2 day lead time for most of the things in our catalog. We manufacture about 60 to 65% of what's in here. So that's a big deal for us, domestically manufactured, and like I said, privately owned, been around over 100 years. So we take pride in being domestic. 12 stocking warehouses across the United States, 7 manufacturing facilities, so that's what helps us get things out to you very quickly. I'm sure some of you might have called in. We say 3:30, and we'll have it out the same day, but sometimes some people go and push it to the end about 5 o'clock, and somehow we still turn it out that same day. So, I mean, all the people at Dixon, you give a call over to us, someone's going to pick up. So that's just something I wanted to preface this by. And we appreciate the support that we've been getting from IPS, and we think of this as a partnership and want to grow this line with you guys as well. So if you just move the catalog to the side for now, the first product we'll be going over, and I know some of you, we've spoke about this before, but we're going to kind of keep hitting it home because it's new, it's exciting, nobody else has this. This is a Dixon exclusive. So that first page, you'll see the Dixon Easy Link. Now, when you think of Cam and Groove, are you guys all familiar with Cam and Groove? Mm-hmm. For the most part, right? So Cam and Groove, typically, you'll see cam arms across the coupler. We did something completely different here. We took away the cam arms and we switched the seal, and I'll go over that as well. What's nice, two of the biggest problems with Cam and Groove are the cam arms breaking, bending, or what have you, and then they're going to have to try to shim them to get that full compression, which is also a hazard. And if you're dealing with food grade material, that shim gets in there, taints the product. So what we did is we eliminated the cam arms, we went with tabs, and so now you have a nice jump on them, just like that. So it's a toggle action. If you think about the adapter on a fixed point and this on a hose, operator will come up, if you want to have it this way, 6 and 12 position. One of the sides is going to jump on, and then the other side you either push up or pull down. What's nice about this, I'm going to pass this around, you guys can kind of play with it, but you're going to want to push on the one side and then the other, and then you want to push to release. What's nice about that, tight applications, maybe on a manifold where they typically have to offset just to get those cam arms shut, or on a pump or anywhere like that, that space might be restrictive. We're going to want to use something like that because we don't have to turn the cam arm. We don't have to turn the cam and groove to compress the cam arms. So for space savings, for just overall savings, if they don't want to replace the cam arms, it's a good alternative. So we have 2, 3, and 4 inch in aluminum, and then 1.5 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch in stainless. And if you take a look in there, the seal is actually a different seal as well. It's a flange style. It actually tucks in there. I'll pass this one around too. We call it, it's a bellow seal. So unlike the flat traditional kind of cam and groove seals, where after a little bit of wear, it gets compressed, gets flattened, and then eventually it falls out. This actually won't fall out as easily. It's tucked in there. There's a little lip or ledge, and so as it's pressurized, it creates a better seal.
So we can get different seals?
Yeah, so there's different elastomers for that. The one that comes with both of them standard is Buna, but we do have a Viton and then a food grade. I think we're working on some others as well.
Which one's the food?
I don't know if they have it on there. Maybe the fluorosilicone. I think that might be oh no, that's the blue one. Yeah, it's not on there, but it's a white.
It's a white Buna.
Is it Buna? Yeah.
I was gonna say it's probably.
Yeah. And so that would go with the stainless, which we have 1.5 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch. So the one I passed around is the Style C by Hose Barb, but we also have that in the NPT female and male, as well as dust caps. So just something to think about. I know a lot of with the stainless. I know you guys have some paint plants, even some food and beverage facilities, depending upon where you are in the plant. Flavors and fragrances might use some type of cam and groove if it's not a true sanitary section in that part of the process. So just some things you might be overstepping to keep your eyes out for. On the aluminum and the stainless, if you guys were looking at the tabs, these are actually all stainless 316L tabs, lifetime warranty, which is nice with that. So we're excited about it. Nobody else has this. Just something to you already have it's already available, so you can start to push it to your customers. The space right here, the 2 holes, still have room for safety pins. So people like to see the old school, is it locked, the visual. So we do have 2 holes for the safety pins, and then we have the grooved section right here for zip tie. So if somebody still wants that visual restraint, they'll be able to see it. If you go ahead and push the tabs, so if it's in the unlocked position, you'll see that orange-red color, and that'll indicate that the one side is not engaged, not locked. And when you do compress on the when you come down and couple on the adapter, those go away. So a couple safety features. Yeah, just a couple safety features there to make sure you know it's engaged. Some of the feedback we got back from the EasyLink is, what if somebody compresses this while it's pressurized, while the line is in use? I don't know the actual pressure it takes, but the human thumb, depending upon the size, cannot compress that, even if you didn't have the tabs or the safety restraints on there. And in testing, we actually only needed one of these. We went with the traditional 2 just because Cam and Groove is known for having the 2 different sides. But it's something completely different. It's new. It's starting to build a lot more traction. We've had it in the field for about 2 years. Yeah, a little over 2 years now. And originally we had the push towards the petroleum haulers, tank trucks, so like the 4-inch for drop hose, thinking it would be they have a tight manifold there, it's a little bit easier for them to jump on, and they don't have to, one of the common complaints was they were breaking cam arms, so we tried to solve that problem. So that's the Easy Link Cam and Groove.
Now the male end of it's still the same as the other fitting, it's just the female, the one with the ears on, is just a difference. You could use the same fitting.
Yeah. Good point. So the male side, the adapter side, still standard. It doesn't matter what you use, global, or as long as you're matching stainless with stainless, aluminum with aluminum. The only difference is the female side. So this is our C by Hose Barb, and then we have our female and male NPT threaded connections, as well as dust caps available. Any other questions on that, guys?
I would just warn you, I guess, one of the complaints we've had is, guys talking about getting stuff jammed in behind the back of it. So like in a construction application, if they're using a pump to pump out the rain from the weekend or whatever, that's not going to be a good use for it. So I would just avoid probably selling that, like Matt was saying.
In the dirty application.
Yeah, in plants, or the drop hose like we have on the front here. We recommend. There's not a whole lot of gas stations out there that still have dirt parking lots. So just kind of keep that in mind, that was one of the common people that didn't like it. It was because they said stuff gets packed behind there when we can't get it uncoupled. But it's not going to be perfect for everyone. We were hoping it was going to take the world over.
Yeah.
Oh well. But it definitely could be a problem solver.
Yeah, and then something different. We try to give a full range of product that can, maybe it will help somebody out, maybe it won't, but nonetheless we have it. We have it stocked, and like I said, we can get that to you next day.
It's amazing how much easier it is to use this Easy Link than it is the regular cams. Because to try to, you think just pull those cams down, that's easy. They're hard because you're really compressing that gasket. The Easy Link is so much easier to connect. It might seem like it's harder, but it's so much easier to connect that Easy Link. Because those cams, you get into a 4-inch.
When they're new.
Yeah, especially new.
You're almost, people are hitting with hammers to get them,
Yeah.
and that's not good. So, but the cams are hard to pull down because you're working on the compression. But the Easy Link it works so easy. Yeah.
And it might seem a little bit harder connecting this now. It's just because you don't have the leverage points. You're dealing with, there's no fixed point necessarily, and you don't really have the weight of the hose right now while you're connecting. But when you do, like I was saying in the beginning, it does jump on there, and then you really only have to pull up or push down.
Right.
So.
And that's what the gasket looks like.
So you don't need near the compression on that gasket.
Yeah, so it'll swell up once it gets under pressure. Doesn't leak, not under pressure, but it swells.
Yeah, we don't know how much it depends on the application. We can't really say how much longer that style gasket would last than a normal compressible kind. But theoretically, it should last longer. It's at least built with that intention. Moving along, if you guys don't have more questions on the Easy Link. Something else, if you turn to the next sheet, you'll see the vent lock, safety cam and groove. So paint plants, chemical plants, anywhere where there might be some caustic or corrosive material, or something that maybe the operator wouldn't want to get hit in the face with when disengaging a coupler, this is where this would come in handy. So what we have here, you can recognize this as a cam and groove coupling. We have the easy boss lock handles, which means they're self-locking. The orange colors to identify that it's a vent lock. And what's nice about this is, say, normal cam and groove operation, if you do open up and there's pressure in the line, say there's something running through there that might be hazardous, open that up and that valve isn't closed, what's going to happen? Material, whatever's in there, is going to hit the operator, not good, right? So what we did in the Innovation Center, we came up with a lock and key mechanism. So if it is pressurized and you do disengage those handles, it'll stay right there, vent the pressure down and away from the operator in a controlled manner, and then all you do is turn and come out. So we have this, it comes in stainless steel, inch, inch and a half, 2 inch and 3 inch. With the lock and key, you're going to want to put it right on the ledge like that and turn, and then it's locked. So I'll pass it around. See the little notch there? And all you have to do is really turn right over that. You don't have to go as far as I did, I was just doing that for an example, but right here it's locked. What's great about that is it's a nice in-betweener from the cam and groove and the dry disconnects, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. With the handles that color, it identifies that it is a vent lock, and it also, since it has that lock and key, compared to the regular cam and groove, you can't connect it to a regular cam and groove. So it prevents against cross-contamination. Maybe if you're running a more expensive product or a highly corrosive, an acid or something like that, you might want to have a little bit more safety behind it. So that's where you can throw something like that in, and you couldn't connect it to the regular cam and groove. So that people are liking that. It's taking off a little bit more now. The biggest negative feedback we had in the beginning was it was nice that it wasn't compatible with the regular cam and groove, but it was also a flaw in that if trucks are coming in and they have the regular adapter, the regular cam and groove, how are they going to link up the vent lock if you can't link up to it? So what we came up with, and it's something that's brand new, is actually an adapter that goes from the vent lock to the regular cam and groove. So it's pretty nice. It actually has a vent lock on it and a regular cam and groove, and has a little sleeve that you have to push over the regular cam and groove and then turn the vent lock and engage it and then push it back to make sure it's vented properly before you can disconnect.
How do you pull them up?
So that's just and these are our easy ball sock handles. So you just pull that down and up, and then it just self locks. So I'll just show for the camera again. You just want to pull it down, comes up, and then it's just a self-locking hand. So it's a really nice feature, and that's called the easy ball sock handle. And what you have is called the vent lock. So, I mean, any of you guys have paint plant, chemical plant, maybe even like ink manufacturers out there? Because I mean, that's an expensive product, and you also don't want that blowing back. I think do you have a paint customer, right?
Yeah.
Rust-Oleum?
Yeah. Then EPS right beside them that does all the polymers for it.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff like that.
Okay. And so, are they using regular cam and groove now, maybe, or?
I know EPS, they had a
Cut it.
problem with,
Little
I've been
weakling.
talking to them
Keep going.
about that
The other way.
because they had a problem
The other
with
way.
the way that the latch of the Dixon was. They didn't like it as much as the cam lock one. So they
With the
said-
handle?
Yeah, there was something that was different in the handle.
Never
or
mind.
lock Or something that they did.
Maybe the Instalock? Is that what they're?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
So
what
they're
the
using a
difference
competitor
was.
because they like the handle.
Right, but yeah, I
But-
introduced the Easy Lock to them, they really liked that. So I
Nice.
think I'm gonna be able to switch them over to that.
Yeah. At least get.
Are you gonna be up here
couple
when
in there,
Tim
maybe
comes
try.
up?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, see, man.
Make sure
Maybe
you,
that's something we can link
for
up.
AIS,
Yeah,
for
I want
the
samples,
ink
so-
places they do,
Yeah, that's what I was just,
because they always have
just
cam and
wanted to
groove
take
on
a
that.
sample. And
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah,
did.
and we have plenty of handle options too. It's like you don't have to just the vent lock doesn't just come with the easy ball lock handles. We have regular. I mean,
Come on,
depending upon the
Smarty.
price point, we have our regular handles. You can see on the page, on the back of that sheet for the vent lock.
And
Yeah. And so depending upon the need of the customer and their price point, we could pretty much fill any of those. And yeah, you don't need to do a full complete turn. It's just got to be over that ridge.
Yeah. You gotta hold the handles up and it'll turn a lot easier, if that's what you were struggling with there.
Okay.
I struggled with it.
That's just because you had the handle halfway down. You're making life harder than it needed to be. But you like a challenge, right?
And so in the Cam and Groove world, the Vent Lock and the Easy Link are two, what we like to think is two great solutions for if you're thinking safety or if you're thinking ease. They can definitely fill both of those. If you,
I always get the female male part confused. Can you go over that a little bit with us?
with the
'Cause-
Cam and Groove?
Yeah, because like to me, the female is where the threads are on the inside. But I'm not correct, am I?
Yeah, well, you might be just thinking the threads. So there is female and male MP, like the
Right.
thread.
But I always get that confused.
That's different than the Cam and Groove coupler. It's like, so if you think male, female, male on the most primitive.
The female end there goes in.
Yes, but if there's threads on this side you're talking about, if the threads are on the outside,
Then it's
that's
male.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if they're on the inside,
Right, but I'm just saying with you guys,
with this side,
with that's
yeah.
that's the male side on there, and
This
the
is a
other side
male.
is the female, because it goes in. Okay.
Yeah, this is a male
Always
with a
get that
female
confused.
MPT. And if the thread was on the outside, it'd be a male MPT.
She has a hard time with male female. You always look at the cam part of it. The cam part of it is what you're looking at. Don't worry about the thread.
Yeah, don't. That's the other
I think
part.
that's where I'm stuck, because I'm thinking of the thread.
Yeah.
That's a separate.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a male cam by a female thread. So it
I
can
got
be
it figured out now. If
male,
it goes
female, yeah.
in, it's
Yeah.
the female that goes in.
No,
No,
it's
the
male
male
that
No,
goes
male
in.
that goes in.
We'll have a discussion
You
later.
know what? This might. I didn't. Yeah, I wanted to. I didn't know how to do that.
On page 125,
Thank you.
Thank
there's
you.
the different configurations.
Awesome.
And that'll
So-
go over everything.
Right, and those letters are, doesn't matter what brand it is, of course, we prefer
That's
to
a
Dixon
standard.
only. But, yeah, but a part A is a part A no matter who makes it, so those are all standard. So if they're talking about a Cam and Groove part B, then that means the female coupler by male NPT. So a coupler is the female, the adapter is the male. Would have been simpler to have all of them on one side, but they kind of mixed them up a little bit.
Yeah.
I dog ear that one.
I will dog ear it, yes, right now, okay? This is my book.
It's a good one. I think we're good on that, right?
Continue.
All right. So we went over the, we went from the Easy Link to the Vent Lock, and now we're gonna go to the more expensive dry disconnects for your corrosive, caustic, expensive, don't want to get fined by the EPA type fittings. So if you open up your catalog, the very first section you'll see is section A. Yeah, we're going to do that too. Section A is our engineered fluid transfer section. I wonder why we put that in the front. Yeah, we don't want you to miss it. No, it's a great section, and that's going to have everything in it that we're going to discuss right now. But just to make it a little bit easier for you guys, I gave you the dry disconnect brochure. So if you open up that little brochure booklet, we're going to kind of go through that. That first page is just going to talk about what a dry disconnect is. So there's different versions of a dry disconnect. We have our Baylock. This is a cam and groove style, and as you can see the cam arms. So this is called our Baylock or the cam and groove style dry disconnect. Biggest competitor in this market would be the OPW Canvelock. I'll go over in detail what ours is about and why ours is better. And then we have the Mantech dry disconnect. So this is a little bit more well engineered, a little bit more expensive, if you can kind of tell. I mean, we're dealing with like a flush face right here compared to when I open this up, a little pocket. But what's nice about the dry disconnects, like the cam and groove, if you do disengage it, if you do open it up and you don't have a valve behind it and it's not shut, that material's coming out, right? If that material comes out, It's either if you're losing an expensive material or you're losing like some type of acid or something that's really corrosive and harmful that you don't want on the floor. You know, maybe 1 or 2 drops could get you a big fine from the EPA. That's where the dry disconnect comes in. So if you do disengage it without the valve shut or whatever kind of secondary you have, you can see that it springs forward. So it's spring return on both sides, valved on both sides. So the product won't come out. You won't lose any product. You might lose a couple drops. I'll pass this around. The only thing you're gonna lose is a couple drops on this one, but compared to something like a cam and groove, if you do open it in that application, it can be catastrophic. You could have I forget what the numbers are, but it's extremely expensive to have somebody come out and clean their remediation service. And then also, yeah, so you want to have that shut before you put it on.
Oh, you got that?
Yeah. But if it was, I was just showing if that was opened without that valve being shut, it's gonna snap. It's gonna snap closed, spring closed. So it's valved on both sides. If you take a look in your dry disconnect brochure, let's turn to.
Oh, no, it's gonna shoot out of there.
Don't pop it open.
You guys bring it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, hold the top. Make sure you're holding an adapter.
Don't put it
Yeah.
there.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean normally it wouldn't be in projectile mode. You would have it hose to hose.
Right.
If you guys turn to page 13 in the dry disconnect brochure, you'll see the different sizes there. And so if you start on that chart where it says female MPT and then coupler size, you see the female MPT says 1.5 inch and the coupler says 2 inch. We size it up a 1/2 inch, and when you get up to the 3 inch, we actually size it up 1 inch, the body size, and that's to take into account the flow restriction from having it valved on both sides. So it's not going to be the same flow as, say, in something open like a cam and groove, but we did oversize it to try to
Shut
mitigate
it.
that flow restriction that might take place by having valves on both sides. But when you're thinking safety, it's a great product to have. There's a lot of different markets out there that would have it. You know, for you, your paint plants, chemical plants. You see it in lube blending facilities, any type of blending. Even DEF haulers, DEF.
Yeah, I've had to replace 2 of those already.
Yeah, for what customer?
That was the EPS.
Okay. Yeah. Did they use the cam and groove style like that?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
like that with the handle.
Yeah.
Like that.
You gotta lift both handles up, Jim.
Yeah. Lift both handles up, and then you have to turn the other handle. But hold, oh, no. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Ooh. Ooh. There it goes.
Go fly.
makes it
But I
very
want to
well
see
done.
the inside. I want to see the inside. Don't shut it back.
If you look
On
like
the-
See that?
Yeah,
It's a
so if you
cam,
look-
it goes over center and puts pressure back on
Yeah.
there. That's what it.
Yeah, so they're springed on both sides. And then if you see the little, there's like a little bowl on that adapter side. If you look into the adapter, Jim, you see the little, and then there's also a little like circle on the coupler. And so it's minimal
Right.
spillage. In between that is what you're going to get to fall.
You
But-
could get yourself into trouble if you know what you're doing.
yeah.
Yeah, you go shooting out.
You don't have
I
it
mean,
on
it
right.
wouldn't, you know? You're talking about something that's going to be attached, assembled to a hose, yeah. So right now, yeah. Could get a little tricky.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Well,
Lock those handles.
as you look at the plunger inside the coupler in there, there's a seal that goes around the top of it, and then there's a cylinder sleeve that's underneath, safety sleeve, and that's what's spring loaded. That's why it's punching off of there. So when you have the two halves mated together, the tolerances are such that the plunger goes through and it opens up the adapter side. But if it isn't mated with its partner, the whole sleeve goes up, so it won't allow product to flow. So it has to be mated
So when it opens up, it automatically closes it.
when
So it doesn't leak out.
correct.
Yeah.
It's spring loaded on
The
both
two,
sides.
has
once
to
they're put
be
together, they
engaged.
open up.
Yeah.
When they, yeah.
So even if it were still under pressure and you opened it up, didn't realize it and opened it up, there's gonna be minimal loss because the thing is sandwiched up against with
It
that
just
spring.
scares you a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit that is in between
Yeah.
that little bowl and the other.
Yeah, so you close the handles and then open the valve, and you're
So, you know,
in business.
as you guys know, safety is a huge thing. Huge push now. We don't want fines. We don't. It's very expensive. Yeah, there you go.
I ain't trying.
Somebody's gonna get hurt, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen enough.
This was like the original design for these dry disconnects, so this is the most popular one out there. Plus, it's about half the price of the one we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
So that makes it even more popular.
So the majority of the market, when you think dry disconnect, you're gonna lean more towards the Baylock or the cam
If you
and
love
style
pushing
dry
on it,
break.
you can fully throw yourself back.
Well, it's just a spring pressure because as soon as you open that up, the line pressure will be stopped by
Okay,
that
yeah.
check valve. All you're seeing is that spring pressure.
It's obviously a lot more than a 2-inch cam and groove is going to be, and that's why people don't want to use them. But as Matt was saying, anything that's hazardous or dangerous or expensive product to lose. And you think about like if you're going to like the lube blend facility, you see these all over the place. I don't know if there's one around here, but I know like down in Baltimore, there's the Castrol facility, Castrol,
Yeah.
and you walk into their place and they've got 30 of them. You know, there are tanks all over the place, and they're making 10W40 and 5W30 and mixing and blending and everything. And so there's just a huge manifold of 30 or 40 of these in 3-inch and 30 or 40 of them in 4-inch, and they're connecting all day long. Well, at the end of the day, if you didn't have that as a dry disconnect, the guy would be sliding in 4 inches of oil. So for stuff like that, you know, this is definitely the way to go. In fact, we have sold some of these actually to the guy that goes around and collects the fryer grease from McDonald's, Wendy's, or whatever. You know, they turn it into biodiesel, and people were stealing the grease, or stealing the old grease, and so he put these things on there. You know, so they had like 6 of them on his truck, and then 100 adapters on all of his stops around town, and so that people stopped them from stealing it. And it also kept the oil from dumping out all over the parking lot.
Yeah, which is a nice,
Which
yeah.
is another big
Added
plus. Yeah, safety first before
Yeah.
cost savings.
Yeah, and so I mean, comes in aluminum and stainless steel, and even in the aluminum version, we have a stainless steel handle and cam arms just to prevent against a little bit of corrosion on the outside if something might get into it, and the wetted parts as well. So aluminum and stainless, 1.5 to 3-inch or 2-inch to 4-inch, depending upon how you look at it. Because like I said, we oversize these a 1/2 inch. So we oversize them a 1/2 inch from 1.5 to 2.5, and then when we get to 3-inch, we oversize it 1 inch, and that's to help mitigate that flow restriction that you do get by having the valves on both sides compared to, say, straight through cam and groove. Won't get the same flow there, but it's restricting it a little bit less by oversizing it. All right, that's the Baylock cam and groove dry brake. If you guys turn to page 4 and 5. So now we'll go over the more expensive, as Jeff calls it, Mantech. There's an inline swivel on here, vacuum sealed. And as you can see, when we passed around the Baylock, there was a bowl for a little bit more product to fall out. Just kind of like a hydraulic fitting with a flush face. There's no little area for any product to pull up in. So it's completely a flush face. When this does open up, the only type of product you'll get is a little film around the adapter. So I'm going to pass this around, you'll see the notch in the roller, and it just goes in there like a lock and key, and then you turn it to lock. It's kind of hard to open up without having it attached, but you can see that was a vacuum seal.
Give them the don't slice your hand open warning.
Yeah,
That little adapter.
just be careful.
Oh,
I would just look at the coupler and the adapter the way it is, without. Maybe if you want to give it a try, go ahead.
Don't touch it, just let it go. Just look.
But like Jeff was saying, lube blending facility, Chevron or Exxon, or there's a couple in New Jersey as well. They use a bunch of the Baylocks. But then when they have a more expensive product that you can't have mixed, say like the 93 octane with whatever kind of additives that they're putting in there, they don't want to mix that with the regular. They're going to use those. So that's the Mantech. That's for the more expensive product. I mean, theoretically, you can use it anywhere you would use a Baylock, but we say more expensive product because people are willing to pay that for.
Like anhydrous ammonia unloading, we've sold some of that.
Yeah, you don't want that dropping.
Yeah. Todo, T-O-D-O.
Is our main competitor for that.
Yeah.
And so
if anybody's asking for Todo fittings, that's what they're referring to, not a little dog in Kansas.
yeah, and that will have like the red handle, and Mantech is blue when you get to the bigger sizes. And they were, I think, a brother-sister combo that split, so they're very similar products. But
So what is that thing on the side that you could, I mean, is that on all of them, or you can,
It's
you
to
know,
tag
guide
a dust
feel?
cap. You attach a dust
Yeah.
cap
I
to
just
it.
Yeah.
attach it.
Yeah.
Mhm. But everybody grabs it and goes, oh,
Sure.
jeez.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I figured,
and it has an inline swivel in it as well.
right. And I know Jim will probably try and sue Dixon for the company, so
No, he's got-
I had to put the disclaimer out on film.
And so these go from 3/4 inch to all the way up to 8 inch. The most common sizes are the 2 through 4, and you'll see that in the same places you'll see the Baylock. Anywhere where there's corrosive material, paint chemical, lube blending, places like that. And then so working on a quote with an 8-inch one, which was by Barge at a refinery. So they actually had flange fittings that they wanted to get rid of and go towards a more well-engineered, safer type fitting.
Yeah, for the 2-inch, you can connect
Just
it
push
and
it down and go
disconnect
there, roll
it
it
10 times, and it'll spill a total of 3 milliliters worth of product. So it's
Yeah,
like
and so that's on
0.3.
page 11, what Jeff's talking about. And so we actually post our spillage on disconnection. And so like he was saying, on the 2-inch, if you go to page 11, you'll see 2-inch, the DN50, 70 millimeter, total spill 10 cycles. So after 10 disconnects, you'll get a total of 3 milliliters, or 0.3 milliliters per disconnection. So that's just
Not even that cap.
that's for the 10 disconnections. So each one is just a film on that adapter. So if you see that flush face, it'll just have a film there. So
Do you show the comparison to that one?
This doesn't,
we have
You know,
things posted on this, I believe, in there. The flow, maybe.
but on the, not the spill rating, we don't have.
No, not the
No,
spill
spill
rating.
rating.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Mantech is the only one that publishes a spill.
Yeah, and because it's
Rating.
and they consider that spill negligible, so it doesn't even get most of the time won't even be recorded, right? Yeah. So if you're allowed a little bit of a spill, you go towards the Baylock, but still dry, especially compared to a Cam and Groover or another fitting like that, where you have that open full flow. And then if you want something a little bit more protected, whether it be highly corrosive or extremely expensive, you're gonna want to use this, the Mantech fitting.
And we can also key them differently, so again, talking about cross-contamination, if you had a couple of applications with real nasty stuff you didn't want to mix and match, we can key them so that they would be, non-cross-contaminatable. Might have just made
Well
up a
said.
word.
Yes.
And we've done, lock, like little locks on there, some, things like that, so, there's some variations we can do.
Yeah, and most of the sizes in both of these, just like everything else in Dixon, we have stocked. Until you get up to the 6-inch and the 8-inch, there's some lead times on those, but you're not going to really see that in a day-to-day application. Most of the time, you'll see the 1-inch to 2-inch.
But-
all the way up to 4.
Drop 5 gallons of diesel overboard, into the river and see what happens.
Yeah,
More than that, probably.
and that was at a refinery, so they have the budget for it. It's definitely, their numbers are different there. That's not a lot of money for them. Another product that we have, so those were the two dry disconnects, the Baylock and then the Mantec. This is another product by Mantec. This complements our dry brakes. So on the connection side, this is, if you're disconnecting, you think dry disconnects, but if you're thinking when somebody's filling up or say loading or unloading at the rack, and say a truck pulls away, what's going to happen if they just have a normal line connected? They're going to pull down the rack, so they're going to destroy the rack. You have downtime that you have to fix that, and then whatever product may be in that line, if it's a corrosive material or something that the EPA would fine for, then you're in trouble there. So you get the double whammy. You get the fine for the product, or the loss of product is extremely expensive, and then the rack being down, downtime is also extremely expensive. So why not throw in something that can prevent both of those? If you turn to page 18 in the booklet, you'll see our industrial safety breakaway. So the premise behind this, if that truck does pull away and they're still coupled up, there's 3 shear bolts around here, and I'll pass this around so you see it. It's set to a certain tensile strength depending upon the application, and this is something you would want to work with our inside folks on. And I have all the contacts for this, and then for the cam and groove, and what we're going to talk about in a little bit. But you're going to want to get those correct so it doesn't have a false reading. But basically, they break away, they shear off, and then this is valved on both sides as well. So if that truck does pull off, he pulls off, or she pulls off with one of these. Shuts completely, spring loaded, and then the only thing you have to worry about is coming back, telling that truck driver to come back. You're going to have to clamp this together, and then you're going to want to, when you sell this, you want to sell a rebuild kit, and the rebuild kit is just 3 shear bolts. So you put those back in, up and running. Very minimal downtime, and then you don't have to worry about the product. So when you're spending money on a dry disconnect, it's a really nice complementary product, and some people like having that in there even without the dry disconnect. They're using maybe just cam and groove and a valve, and they say, hey, our team knows what they're doing. They're going to make sure our procedure says the valve has to be closed before they open, yada yada. That's just a nice safety insurance to have, because that's dealing more so for the trucks that are coming in, unloading and loading, and you never know who's doing that. So that can be good.
How do you determine the shear? Because wouldn't that depend on how the driver would pull away?
Engineering would have to determine,
Because wouldn't that vary with how fast the driver would pull away? Or?
No, I think the idea is to make sure that it breaks before the hose breaks.
yeah.
Okay.
So depending
It's
upon
determined
what
on the
hose,
hose.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's pretty, it doesn't take a whole heck of a lot in the industrial version.
That wants to break
it off.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah, the industrial version, because there's
There's a marine
a
version.
set point. Yeah, it's a fixed point.
There's that rubber on there, so when this end, the truck driver's going down the road, it's just bouncing.
Yeah, so it doesn't, it's low spark that way.
Yeah, don't. It's safe. Hopefully they
It's not gonna
stop.
spark or anything.
But it's just like at the gas station, they've got the things sitting
The
up
miniature
there at
versions,
the
yeah.
top,
Yeah.
and you wonder how can somebody be so stupid, but it happens all the time. And especially in if it's doing fuel or something like that, where they've got to go back in and fix the racks. They can't weld, it's a massive expense. So, I know you guys are into selling pipe and all, but,
That's big now, because just have people they forget.
Yeah.
So if they would drive away, how do you put them back together?
You would clamp it. You would clamp them both ends together, and then you would have no more shear bolts because they would have broke.
Yep.
So your rebuild kit is just three of those. You have those on hand. Because if you're selling one of those, we suggest you sell it with a rebuild kit, because if it does break, you're not going to put regular bolts back in there, and then you would have, and then the downtime would be, who knows. So you sell it with all you have to do is clamp that together and put those 3 shear bolts in, and you're up and running. Compared to having to rebuild the rack and fines from EPA and who knows what else. So as a system, the dry disconnects and even on them, even individually, dry disconnects and safety breakaway are really a nice safety feature, especially plants and facilities are leaning more towards safety being a big concern. So something else you might have just overlooked when selling, Dixon Sanitary or whatever else you guys push on a daily basis. So we went over Easy Link, we went over Vent Lock, we went over our dry disconnects, the Bay Lock and the Mantec. We also went over the Mantec safety breakaway. I know we only have 10 minutes left. We wanted to kind of touch base and go over products that might be at some of your customers that you have now as a good start to kind of push more of the Dixon, make it a little bit easier in the transition. But we do have a bunch of other type fittings in there. Kind of, I know we don't have too much time, but if you open up the catalog to the front, so you can see section F, pneumatic fittings, and then section H, hydraulic fittings. So we have DQCs, or Dixon Quick Coupling. They're in Dallas, North Carolina. We sell all different types of quick disconnect fittings. So if you think construction, you think outside air. So if you guys have the sheet in front of you, the HTE sheet, the equalizer. So I mean, there's always construction going around or going on in the area, especially now that we're in the spring. It seems to be a big spike in construction, obviously, because winter is before it. They're not doing too much outside, right? So if you take a look at, some of you might have the HTZ or some of you might have the HTE. This is our flush face quick disconnect, and they use this for bobcats, or what we call skid steers. So different attachments. Say if an operator has a bucket on there and wants to switch to a different attachment, and they leave that attachment or the line sitting in the sun or just building up through thermal expansion, it actually, you can't connect under pressure. So with the HTE, we're able to, and most of the people in the field, when they try to connect to, say, a bucket instead of a digger or whatever they're called, right? If they're switching from one to the other, they normally have to relieve that pressure to connect it. And the only way traditionally they can relieve the pressure in the past was hitting it with a screwdriver and a hammer. So not really effective. They're going to mess up the flush face, which therefore messes up the connection and the seal. And so we came up with something called the equalizer, or the HTE, which allows you to, if there is pressure on that line, you can still connect up to 5,000 PSI. So it's a pretty nice, pretty sweet little setup. And then some of you might have the HTZ, and that's the female side. So the HTE and the Z are a pairing. So you have your female and your male. And just a nice feature to kind of, you don't even have to sell them the hose itself. You can, I know you guys don't, you guys are not selling hydraulic or industrial hose out of here, right? No.
Yeah, right, no.
Do you guys lean on anybody for that, or?
Not a lot. We saw a little bit here. There's a lot more we could do with it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of that. A lot of we sell a lot of the quick couplings, whether it be pneumatic or hydraulic. And then on the pneumatic side, a lot of the facilities have what we call FRLs, filter regulator lubricators. Are you guys familiar with those? Mm-hmm. So any inside air application, whether it be automotive or any kind of plant, they're more than likely running air through the facility. And so what the we have a bunch of different units on that. We actually have about 50 or 60 pages for FRLs, for the full units and for individuals. And we carry Norgren, Wilkerson, and Watts. And we have more in stock, ready to go, and faster delivery times than Norgren does of its own product. So lean on us for that. Anywhere where they're running air through a facility, they're going to need an FRL, or they're going to need, maybe a filter or a regulator or a lubricator. Because there is moisture that builds up in the line. They want to take that out, and then they want to filter that out, and then they lubricate it with a little bit of drops of oil to keep the tools running, the longevity there. So
that's usually the last step in an air piping system, and that's usually the transition piece between pipe and hose. Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of who asks for the order. You do the last step and add another $400 to your sale, or do you let the hose guy get it, or McMaster-Carr or somebody like that?
yeah.
So if you're selling, you're selling air pipe, that's a real nice addition.
So Bunch of different product there. The last booklet, I think we have 5 minutes left. Kind of go through that a little quicker. The swivel joints. You guys all have that booklet there in front of you. So Dixon Specialty Products, we've been around for a very long time. They started out selling GSM armored hose, and then eventually went into the swivel category. But you know, the swivels are so widely used, you can use them in almost every application or almost every market you can think of. The swivels being used. So where a swivel would be necessary, if some type of application has a little bit of movement with the hose and or pipe, and there could be some bending going on with the hose, to prevent that, you'd want to put a swivel there. Bunch of different configurations. If you turn to page 5, there's all different styles. So whatever configuration you may need for that application, we can do. We have them, all the components stocked, ready to build on hand in Dixon Specialty. So we can have that out most of the time, same day as well, depending upon what we're doing. If you guys look at page 6 really quickly, you'll see on the top it says O-ring and V-ring swivel joint numbering system. So that goes over our part number and the breakdown of what's what from, you know, from the different styles to the connections, the material, the ball bearings, type of grease even being used. Online we have a swivel, is it the builder? Configurator we call it. And so it's what you see here in this chart you'll put in, and you can build your swivel live on the website. And that's something also that we try to push, lean towards the website. I know you guys have access to it. Are you guys checking stock on there? And
Every
there
day.
you go. That's good. Very helpful, right? Saves a little bit of
Except
time.
for when I don't have the part number right. If I don't have the dash in the right spot.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to work
I
on.
think that's gonna be
Yeah.
not an issue soon. I thought that they had
Partials.
that. Yeah, partial or something.
We did that on the quick disconnect side where we can put in partials, and like Jeff said, we're working on the main hub.
That
But
would
there's a
help.
lot more in it, so
Yeah,
That would
we're
help.
almost there.
yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on the website.
Yes.
So some new products that you'll see in there too, like Jeff has on page 7 and 8. If you go to page 7 really quickly, you'll see a split flange swivel. So the split flange swivel is actually on page 8 broken down, but page 7 is showing it on a loading arm. And so loading arms, you can typically think for petroleum at a terminal, but they're also used in paint plants, farm, irrigation, and then it says, you know, food and beverage process equipment. So there's a bunch of different applications. Maybe they might not have that coupler that you see on the end. It's called an API coupler. That's actually used in the petroleum industry, but they might have some type of dry disconnect fitting, or even maybe a cam and groove, who knows. But loading arms can be used in a bunch of different applications for loading.
Asphalt,
Yeah.
that's always a big one too.
And that's a Dixon Specialty product as well. And so we're working on, right now our lead time is a few weeks, I think maybe 4 or 5 weeks, but we're trying to get it taken down to possibly 1 or 2. But those are all custom builds, but just know that we can do loading arms, and split flange swivel is on that next page, page 8. It's a pancakes type swivel, so if it tighter application, if you're looking at the other configurations of swivels, they take up a little bit more space. This is good if there's space is an issue. It's also good if torque is an issue, so you don't actually have to use, there's not that much force necessary to turn this, as opposed to a traditional swivel where it takes a little bit more torque to turn it. This is a little bit easier. I think it might be 3 pounds of pressure or something like that.
Very easy.
Yeah.
And the ball bearings never interfere with the product on the split flange or pancake swivel. So like for asphalt, that's a real big plus.
Yeah. For longevity.
You guys sell swivels now?
Some here and there.
I was gonna
not a
say, I
lot of
don't
them.
know
We should
if I've
probably-
ever.
There's more applications for sure.
Yeah. There's a whole lot out there. And a lot of them do last long. But in a lot of places where they're just kind of packing grease into the ball bearings and just keeping them going, a lot of them could be changed, and you know, should be. So just think.
In trouble.
So I mean, we really wanted to do this so you guys think a little bit more on the Dixon side, because you do such a great job with Sanitary. We wanted to come out here and show you some products to kind of get the wheel turning. Get, you know, think about just other markets, other avenues of product you can sell, because you have access to all of it, and we would, you know, we're there for you guys if you want to. If you need any more help to lean on, any more training, joint calls, anything like that. You know, Jim's your guy for Sanitary. I'm your guy for the big book. So appreciate it. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
the business. Thank you for the time. Any other questions? No? Female, male?
Cut.